the endless lines on this highway, and I ask myself, who paint the horizon gray? A million clovers, a million fields, I hold each thought as a boredom shield, and home's an emotion I try not to feel. 'Cause I'm tempted to catch that train at midnight, back to my city of rain. Little caffeine to fuel my imagination, to fill in the gaps between destinations, and this crumpled postcard brings salvation. Well, it's not like this is no man's land.
Thank you for tuning in to CITR 101.9 FM. You're listening to the 1991 track, City of Rain, featuring our mayor, Kennedy Stewart, on bass. You're also listening right now to Democracy Watch, the News Collective's weekly news report, bringing you alternative and undercovered current affairs from Vancouver and the Lower Mainland. I'm Alex DeBoer.
I'm Samuel Jones.
And I'm Lyndon Wong. It's Thursday, February 28th at 5:04 p.m. We're broadcasting from UBC's Vancouver campus on the ancestral, traditional, and unceded territories of the Hunkaminam speaking Musqueam people.
Well, dear listeners, it's the time of the year.
Woo!
Fundrive. Fundrive is CITR's annual fundraising campaign, and it begins today.
That's right. So, you know this excellent local news we've been bringing you, which we're doing right now. And in addition to this radio show, we have our municipal politics podcast, Seeking Office. Well, we've been bringing that to you for free, which is great. We want to do that. But at the same time, CITR is a nonprofit and we really don't have any money. And it's almost entirely volunteer made, both this radio show and our podcast. So now is a great time to donate so that we can keep making that local news.
And the way you can donate is by calling 604-822-8648. Again, that's 604 UBC unit. If you'd rather donate online, you can go to our website at crtr.ca/donate.
We have amazing show prizes for our dear listeners. If you donate $20 to CITR and indicate that you are donating to the News Collective, you will receive a limited edition City Council horoscope.
Yeah. Let's be honest, that's pretty amazing. So basically, it's a unique, one-of-a-kind horoscope that has each city councilor, and as we all know, there's 10, plus the mayor, and then because there's 12 horoscope signs, we threw in Sadhu Johnson, who's the city manager. He's important. So you get to figure out which councilor, mayor, or city manager you are based on their political personality. So we assigned horoscope signs to these folks, not based on their birthdays, but based on their political personality. So you can look up, if you're like a Virgo, you can see which counselor you are. It's pretty fun. So yeah, donate $20 and you get that.
So CITR also has some sick prizes to give out. If you donate $30, then you will receive a CITR and Discorder Fundrive patch.
And you can also donate $5 a month alternatively, which is a cool way to go so that, you know, it's more like a Patreon kind of thing. We're doing it through Nation Builder, but like a monthly subscription is a good way to like regularly contribute.
Yeah, so all of these pledges have similar month-long subscription plans.
Yeah.
If you so $60 or $10 a month will give you exclusive totes. And basically, all these rewards will give you the previous rewards as well. Oh. So you'll also get the patch, and you know, as you increase in the price, you'll get everything behind it. So at the special price of 101.9, it is you will get amazing socks and everything before that. But wait, there is more. At $175, you will get our exclusive fishbowl tape.
Yeah, and that tape is really cool. It's a cassette, which has recordings of local bands. I think a lot of them, or most of them, were done on Radio Hell, which is Ben Ly's awesome show, which has been going for a very long time. And so that cassette is really cool. There's some great music. You probably want to own it. Yeah. And then I guess up from the $101 donation. Is that where we were?
Nope.
Nope.
We were at
170.
250.
Nope, 250.
250.
250. We're all doing really well.
Numbers aren't a strong suit, but
Yeah.
We're words people.
We're words people.
so yeah, at $250 you'll get a framed cover of Discorder magazine,
Yep.
or that's $25 a month. And then at $500, if you really want to spend the big bucks, you'll be able to host a show on CITR 101.9 FM.
Yeah, your own show. And also, $500 might seem like a lot, but you can also donate $35 a month, which is kind of a reasonable amount for the amazing media content we produce.
Yep, and you get all these trainings, and you get a lot of support from CITR, so that's great. And then at the highest amount, or the final prize, at $1,000 or $50 a month, you get a box set of all the Pop Alliance compilations, and you also get recognition on our donor wall.
Plus all the above items. And the Pop Alliance compilations are really great local music. So that's vinyl. The Pop Alliance we've been putting out for a number of years. It's something we put out in partnership with Mint Records, a local record label. So you're going to get some really great local bands, kind of the best in Vancouver. So that's a really special prize. And so those are all the prizes that the station is offering. In addition, of course, to our horoscope, which is only $20, which you get for only a $20 donation. So that's a bit about Fundrive. We're going to keep talking about Fundrive throughout the show. But we did want to also bring you some Vancouver news. So in a bit, we're going to chat about City Council, which has had a couple meetings over the past few days.
So we're going to start off by discussing Motion B4, which is a motion Gene Swanson tabled to create emergency shelter for the folks living in a tent city in Oppenheimer Park. We'll also be talking about Motion B10, which is the motion on aggressive buyouts and renovictions. City staff presented a report on this motion yesterday, and we'll be looking into what exactly they recommend.
But first, we have a special piece made by our collective coordinator, sitting right here, Alex DeBoer. This is an interview with her grandma, who turns 100 years old in April. Her grandma discusses the first two radios her father tried to build himself in the late 1920s. Take a listen.
Here we go.
Well, the first radio was, my father in his younger days was an electrician, and he was all excited about this new, they called it wireless, I think, then. He apparently had got a hold of some information on this, and he was going to build his own radio. My name is Margaret Kathleen Burns Nee McPhee. I'm 99. I will be 100 on the 24th of April. So he had a tube, I would say about a 2 or 3, maybe 3-inch tube. And he was wrapping copper wire around it so that it was fully covered, the tube. And I was just a very young girl, and I asked him what he was doing. So he told me that he was trying to get sound because he'd been hearing about this new thing. As I say, at that point they were calling it wireless.
Do you think it was like the early 30s?
I
I
just,
know you're not sure, yeah.
I'm not sure. As I say, my sisters must have been high school age, you know. You can take about 10 years off mine. And I don't know how you'd go back on that.
Yeah, it's probably like the late 20s, early 30s. That's what
Yeah.
I'm guessing, yeah.
Yeah. And so he worked on it, and I sat there, of course, glued to the thing, and he said sound would come out of it. So he worked, and I sat, and finally he got it all covered and did a few things which I didn't understand. And what he got was a lot of noise. It wasn't words he was getting, it was just lots of crackling noise. Well, I think perhaps it was the first do-it-yourself thing I ever saw done that didn't work out. So, of course, in due time, we did get a radio. It was a big piece of furniture. And my older sisters, were having a party, which they did back in those days at home.
Do you think they told their friends, like, oh, we have a radio? And, like, do you think people were kind of excited?
I think they were all looking forward to it. It was the big thing of the party. And so it came, and the party came, and Dad didn't know how to work it. So that was another do-it-yourself that kind of fell through.
That was the second radio he had then.
Yeah, and he had Eaton's come out the next morning to show him how to work it. But he was so angry. I can remember he was just so angry. But we enjoyed it. We used to all sit around and listen to the programs, and my dad in particular really did enjoy it very much. The radio is very important to keep up with the news daily, and if you have a radio handy, you can be listening and still go on with what you're doing.
My grandma's heard a lot of radio over the last century.
Donate to CITR 101.9 FM.
Keeping local independent radio alive doesn't have to be as hard as building your own radio. Support CITR's Fundrive by donating at citr.ca/donate. Help keep CITR weird. All right. Hope you enjoyed that piece. My name is Alex DeBoer, and you're listening to Democracy Watch on CITR 101.9 FM. We just heard a little weird interview I did with my grandma. And yeah, so it's Fundrive here at CITR. It's the first day of Fundrive. Runs from February 28th today to March 8th, so 1 week. Fundrive is our annual public fundraiser. Our goal is to raise $40,000. And that money will go towards our operating budget and allow us to keep making cool, weird content like the interview you just heard.
So just a little bit of background on CITR. The station has been around since 1937, when it began as a student club. And now today, CITR is Vancouver's oldest independent media outlet. So that's pretty amazing.
It is amazing. And CITR is especially sweet because it provides space for diverse communities to come together and hang out and make media. We have tons of spoken word radio programming, like our Indigenous Collective show, Unceded Airwaves, for example.
Yeah. They do amazing work, and we also have a gender empowerment collective and an accessibility collective. That collective I get to work with a lot, and it's really cool because they center the voices of those with diverse abilities and explore topics like fashion and disability, which is an episode they did recently that was really cool and interesting. They also talk about disability justice and disability in arts and culture.
And of course, CITR has the amazing / the best collective that you're listening to right now, the News Collective. And we try hard to cover issues that are overlooked by mainstream media, and we try to highlight voices and stories of those who are marginalized and or underrepresented. So, if you want to keep us going and you love our free podcast Seeking Office, please call 604-822-8648 or donate to the News Collective. That's 604-822-8648. You can also donate online at citr.ca/donate.
Again, we are giving out amazing limited edition Vancouver City Hall horoscopes.
Woo!
These will be mailed to you if you donate just $20, making sure to indicate that the News Collective
That's a good
is
deal.
your interest, what you're interested in.
Yeah, this is going to be like a limited edition, like vintage horoscope thing. And you're going to want to know which counselor you are. I was surprised to find out which counselor I am, but I can't tell you because it's a secret and it will give away who that counselor is because I'm a Scorpio. Anyway, you got to donate. So we're going to talk about some local news here. We're going to discuss a recent motion titled B4. Yeah, let's go to that.
Okay, so as we reported previously at public hearing last week on a redevelopment at Clark and First, which passed in by council on Wednesday, some activists staged an action to draw attention to the tent city in Oppenheimer Park, where it is estimated that 80 to 100 people currently live. So presumably, in response to this disruption, Councillor Jean Swanson put forward a motion to council. Sam, can you tell us what about this motion entailed?
Well, Motion B4 is a bid to improve living conditions in Oppenheimer Park, a place where currently 80 to 100 people are living, as you said. The motion outlines this and several other issues. The solution being proposed to improve conditions for these people at the mercy of Vancouver's at times unpredictable weather, as well as with a lack of security and a lot of vulnerability, is an emergency shelter, which would be erected in the park. This motion, however, dealt with some complications before council on the 26th. Let's listen to Kennedy Stewart for more context.
Is to refer this this motion not to tomorrow, but to after the park board has their hearing, which is on the 11th. Do we have a seconder for that referral? Councillor Bly, all in favor of that? March 13th. It'll be referred to March 13th.
Councillor Jean Swanson, in a response to Mayor Kennedy's deferral of her motion, B4, titled Helping Campers at Oppenheimer Park, told the council that she would prefer if the motion was dealt with sooner rather than later, in her own words, explaining that the people in Oppenheimer Park needed help and that she would appreciate it if the motion could be dealt with that night. So let's just go to that clip.
I'm not in favor of this referral. I want the motion to be dealt with sooner rather than later to try and speed up the help for the people in the park. I've talked to Councillor Weeb about it. I'm intending to change my motion so that it says that council work with the park board. And I've already got a couple people on the park board who have introduced a similar motion there. So I think I would, and we have speakers ready to come this time around, and I'd really appreciate it if it could be heard sooner rather than later.
Okay. So Sam, what were the reasons for this deferral, and sort of like the back and forth we're hearing between Kennedy and Councillor Jean Swanson here?
Yeah, so some much needed context. Basically, Parks Board commissioners put forward a similar motion through the Parks Board, which was a problem for Mayor Stewart, who felt that this was Parks Board's jurisdiction and thus more or less their decision. Parks Board votes on this motion March 11th. Kennedy felt that this should be pushed to the 13th in order to ensure that their decision on the process was respected. Let's listen to just some of this here.
Same motion. So Park Board is going to be considering the exact same motion that within a few words of what we're considering. So because they have jurisdiction over the park, I guess that's why, and that's what they'll be considering.
Right. Okay. So that was Kennedy Stewart. So what was Gene Swanson's take on this?
Gene Swanson tried to appeal to council's worries on the subject.
Okay. We'll go to a clip.
Yep.
I said at the beginning when I made this motion that I wanted to make a small change to it.
Okay, it's a little late now because we're voting on the referral. So that's what you're speaking to right at the moment, and I don't think you can amend a referral. It's just...
But let me just say that our staff work with Park Board staff, I wanted to add that in there.
Okay.
I will do that when it comes time to
Okay.
actually having the motion. So I understand that it's important to work with Park Board staff. But I did want to make the point that there's lots of city staff that work in the park. The park is run by the folks at Carnegie who are city staff. And the homeless outreach team is over there all the time, and they're city staff. So there's a lot of different cities. There's a lot of city involvement. The police are there all the time. The engineering folks are there all the time. There's a lot of city folks there. There's a lot of money being spent in that park in the current situation. So my hope is that we can deal with this quickly and start working on it, and also that we can let the speakers who we're expecting to come this week come and speak.
Okay, thank you very much. Anybody else want to speak to this referral motion? I see nobody else, so I will call a vote on the motion to refer this to March 13th.
In the end, though, as you heard, this was not enough. The deferral won out 8-2, with only Councillor Gene Swanson and Councillor Boyle voting against it. So, sorry.
Yeah, so the council then is really intent on waiting this out until Park Board votes, right?
Yep, that certainly seems important to the city councilors at the moment. But another thing that Jean pointed out was that many of the staff who work at the park, if you didn't hear it, for example, she mentioned Carnegie Hall and the homeless outreach team. This point is interesting because it further complicates, due to the fact that they're city employees, it further complicates who has the authority to do what. City staff work in the park, but it's still the Parks Board's jurisdiction. Only time will tell what it means for the motion.
Right. But just like in summary, Gene Swanson wanted to have action by the city council to build an emergency shelter for homeless people living in the downtown east side's Oppenheimer Park. But the mayor said that this is actually the Park Board's jurisdiction, and they'll be voting on that on, was it March
11th.
So the Park Board will be voting on whether they will erect an emergency shelter on March 11th?
On March 11th, well, if Kennedy Stewart's reading of the bill, which he suggests that it is almost identical, yes, that is indeed the case.
Okay, cool. So we'll have to stay tuned for that.
Yeah.
So thanks for sharing that with us, Sam. We're going to take a short break. You're listening to Democracy Watch on CITR 101.9 FM. It is Fundrive time, and we are going to hear a pretty cute Fundrive ad right after we take a listen to one of our dear Mayor Kennedy Stewart's tunes from 1991. This is another one. We led the show with one. This is from the same album that we played at the beginning of the show, The Road Inside, an album by Kennedy Stewart's band State of Mind. And the song is called Cry Out Loud. Apparently everything is 3 words. So take a listen to this, and then we'll hear more local news, and we'll hear more about Fundrive. So here we go.
Show me a man who's angry at the world. differences are differences. They make you feel ashamed, so you cry out loud. But no one hears. Cry out loud. It falls on deaf ears. 'Cause sympathy and love will lose out to fear if you cry out loud. Show me a man who will not show compassion, whose heart knows no regrets. I'll show you a man whose ignorance guides his clouded vision. He'll see you as a threat. But there's one too many people who'll disregard your worth, so you keep your secret safe at home, in your closet full of skeletons. You've never felt more alone, so you cry out loud. But no one hears. Cry out loud. It falls on deaf ears. 'Cause sympathy and love will lose out to fear if you cry out loud. Saw your picture in the paper yesterday. You look so thin, like a skeleton. It seems you let your secret out, and they crucified you good. They took your job and security and threw them on the scrap heap with your dignity.
Playing in the background. Plays every hour on the hour as part of our flagship station ID. If you do recognize this song, chances are less than 1 in 12 that you have donated to CITR. That means 11 out of 12 of our regular listeners are getting our content for free. So naturally, we called local businesses to see if we could get that kind of a deal. Here's how things went when we called Duffin's Donuts.
Hello, Duffin's Donut.
Hi, I was wondering if I can get 12 pupusas, but just pay for one of them. Like,
Do we owe you? Oh, you cinnamon roll?
No, you don't owe me. I was just seeing if like that was a deal I could make.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. Maybe in 20 years?
In 20 years?
Yeah. Is that okay?
Okay. I was hoping
in
for it
20
now
years?
though, but
No, 20 years later.
20
I
years.
think. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
I'll try in 20 years.
You can show your support right now on your mobile device or computer by heading to citr.ca/donate or in person and over the phone during our annual fundraising week, February 28th to March 7th. Donate to keep CITR weird. It's CITR and Discorder's favorite time of year, Fundrive. Join us at the kickoff party this Thursday, February 28th at the Hatch Art Gallery, with performances by None of the Above, The Swill Merchants, and UBC Improv. You can get tickets for $5 in advance every day at noon at the station, or sliding scale at the door. Plus, bring cash for amazing raffle prizes donated by UBC Players Club, the Museum of Anthropology, thecalendar.ca, and so many more campus clubs and organizations. You can check out all of this year's Fundrive prizes and or donate at citr.ca/donate.
Hi, dear listeners. I don't know why we keep saying dear listeners throughout this episode, but this is Democracy Watch on CITR 101.9 FM. Thank you for tuning in. Today's the beginning of Fundrive at CITR, which is CITR's annual fundraiser. Money we earn during this time allows us to keep making local news, music, and talk radio more generally.
So, if you're a fan of our news collective and our wonderful podcast, Seeking Office, please donate so we can keep making that awesome and important content.
Right. As we all know, local news is on the decline, and our news collective provides original reporting on Vancouver City Hall, exclusive interviews with city councillors, local activists, and experts.
That's right. We're fighting against fake news, too. Let's add that in there.
Yeah.
We're combating all these really oppressive forces that are attacking journalism. And not only that, we try to make creative news. So we try to push boundaries in terms of structure and style and engage our listeners, particularly on our podcast Seeking Office, which is, heavily produced. So basically, we believe that news and local news needs to be innovative to retain and also grow listenership. So that's what we try to be. And by donating, you can help us achieve that.
So, if you want to help us keep going and keep making this content, and if you love our free podcast, Seeking Office, please call 604-822-8648 to donate to the News Collective. That's 604 UBC Unit. You can also donate online at citr.ca/donate.
If you donate just $20, you will receive a one-of-a-kind Vancouver City Council horoscope. Find out which councillor you are according to the stars.
Oh my God, amazing. We don't need transitions or echo effects. We just do it live.
We're that good.
So great. So we're going to now have a discussion on some local news, City Council, Vancouver City Council. So a very important motion that went before Council in December, which was tabled by Jean Swanson, on aggressive buyouts and renovictions. We're going to talk a bit about that. Lyndon, you were doing some research. Can you tell us a bit about what this amendment's all about?
Yeah, of course. Okay, so around December, the City Council passed Motion B10 with numerous amendments that was proposed by Councillor Jean Swanson. So this included ending renovictions, required tenancy rights being sent by mail, and all tenant buyouts being recorded onto public record. So basically very substandard for what we expect when they talked about, improving tenant quality and just so that they have more awareness of their rights. However, many of the elements of the proposed bill that were originally there were placed under consideration, which included TRPP tenant relocation and protections policy amendment to being applied to all forms of rental accommodation. And one of the more important is that vacancy controls or maximum rent increases being tenancy is also being put on hold and actually not being pushed forward. And also other measures the city can undertake to protect tenants from renovictions and buyouts and targeted enforcement against these violations by the government.
So let me just jump in here just to make sure I'm understanding. So basically in December, Councillor Jean Swanson tabled a motion meant to address aggressive buyouts and renovictions, and certain elements of this motion were passed, but certain elements were sent to staff to review. Is that correct?
Yes, and there was a lot of criticism towards City Council for this because a lot of these stronger portions of the bill that would allow the government to counteract and enforce these rules were put aside.
Such as what you're saying, vacancy control, which the municipal government, our local city council, would have to ask the provincial government to implement because that's their jurisdiction. And also, you said City Council was asked to look into tenant relocation and protections for all forms of rental accommodation. And they were also asked to look into other measures the city could undertake to protect tenants from rent evictions and buyouts. So basically, city staff presented a report on this research that they had been doing since December when the table was motioned. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So
they have like an action plan they set out to do.
Okay, so this action plan was presented to council this week.
Yes.
Okay.
And then so they put together a lot of these statistics on just things that we already know, just about rising costs and rents, and just people not being able to afford buying property. So more people are like starting to rent now, right? And so yeah, still a lot of like criticism towards them, and with only protections for rent evictions being passed, although a very important part and a key part of the bill that Jean Swanson put forward, and it got passed.
What was an important part of the bill?
Like just ending rent evictions.
Right. And how did they plan to end rent evictions?
They didn't go into detail in the action plan, but they did say that it was passed and that they would basically they would get stakeholders and basically tenants, landlords, and everyone to start discussing on how they would enforce this, and that they're going to spend like the next quarter of the year trying to discuss and.
Right, they're working towards
a policy.
Ending rent evictions in Vancouver.
So even though that got passed, and a lot of other more ceremonious elements, like just more awareness and having areas where people are more aware of their rights, which is still good. But again, a lot of the criticisms came from that Vancouver still lacks proper protection for renters from their landlords if they're violating these rights.
And also, could you just explain what rent evictions are in case any of our listeners don't know?
So I believe it's to prevent landlords from evicting tenants when they want to renovate the property.
Yeah, for the purpose of renovation. So then, right, okay. So sorry, go on with what you were going to say.
Yeah, so I mean, just because of this, Vancouver itself doesn't have a lot of power in dealing with these violations. So as a part of the bill was targeting enforcement, it wasn't passed, and it wasn't given a solid plan to be developed.
So they passed more elements that involve education. So so the city now, right now, actually a group that's been doing most of the renter advocacy work in our city is the Vancouver Tenants Union, going around door knocking, people volunteering their time to educate folks about their rights as renters and to provide legal advice even and to help organize tenants. So now the city is going to take on more of that role, at least in terms of, as you said, mailing out information and also keeping track of when buildings are bought, right? Rental stock that's bought, which could be then demolished and turned into unaffordable rental stock or condos.
Yeah, they're working on marking it down and making it public so anyone can access this information.
Okay.
And also, they've also introduced more bills to have a center for people who aren't as aware to be able to communicate with people, like the government and all these.
Oh, is that
groups.
the mayor's office or no?
No, they have they're planning on a separate office.
Okay, they're gonna have an office for renters to go and learn about their rights.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
And have much more open communication with the community as a whole.
Okay.
But basically, in contrast, New Westminster councillors passed a more comprehensive bylaw that uses the city's business licensing powers to take action against landlords that conduct rent evictions, showing that it's not unprecedented for cities to take drastically stronger measures in order to protect its tenants, right? And this was this kind of comparison was done by Jen St. Dennis at the Star.
At the Star Metro. Yeah, and I mean, in seeking office, a couple weeks ago, we interviewed a counselor from New Westminster right after they passed this this bylaw that seeks to end rent evictions by potentially fining landlords or taking away their business licenses. And when I talked to, it was, I forget the counselor's name right now. I should remember, but I can't. Anyway, he was saying that in addition to this bylaw that passed just a few weeks ago, the city council in New Westminster has already voted to lobby the provincial government for vacancy control. So yeah, what you're saying and what Jen St. Dennis or St. Denis, I'm not sure how she pronounces her last name, are making is that we have a similar city which has a similar amount of renters, right? That's taken far more drastic action on dealing with rent evictions and dealing with our housing affordability crisis. So it's interesting, and I do hope at some point in the near future to talk with Kennedy Stewart about this and other councillors to just ask why it seems so, unfathomable here to do what has been done in New West, a city that is quite similar in a lot of ways, though there are differences. But in terms of renter population and rental stock, it's not that different.
Yeah, and this was this was their number one thing coming in from the elections. This was what they said they would try to counteract and try to fight.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, in this plan, they kind of claimed themselves as having a long history of leadership in protecting tenants and creating new rental properties. And clearly...
You mean the city of Vancouver?
Yes.
So in this presentation by staff, they say
yes, they had
Vancouver's had a history
big
of
title in this presentation.
Right.
So they're clearly falling behind.
Interesting.
All right, well, thank you so much for that, Lyndon, that analysis. You are listening to Democracy Watch on CITR 101.9.
0.9.
FM. My apologies. My name is Samuel Jones, and we're broadcasting here at UBC on the first day of Fundrive. If you want to donate, please call 604-822-8648. Got that right. That's 604-822-8648. You can also donate online at citr.ca/donate. We're going to hear another rock classic tune by our mayor, Kennedy Stewart, the one and only. This is Blind Man's Bluff off of Stewart's 1991 The Road Inside. Take a listen.
Every man around here is a man. Ain't that right? Ain't that right? Here in Blind Man's Bluff, you learn to use your fists when enough is enough, and they weed out the weak and the word no summer of love. Blind Man's Bluff. Blind Man's Bluff. Blind Man's Bluff. Blind Man's of my mama on the wall before she died. And Daddy never mentions her at all. He never cried when she died. One thing I remember about her face, she never smiled. No, she never smiled. But there's history young boys don't trace. Too young and wild, Daddy's only child. Here in Blind Man's Blood, you learn to use your fists when enough is enough, when they weed out the weak and the word no summer of love. Blind Man's Blood. Blind Man's Blood. Blind Man's Blood. Blind Man's Blood. my daddy taught me. Fair is fair, fair is fair. But that city boy just smiled and she forgot me. I swear. So when I cut him down, I had my reasons. I declare. Well, I sent him into the loving arms of Jesus. Fair is fair, fair is fair. Here in blind man's blood, you learn to use your fists when enough is enough. And they weed out the weak, and there weren't no summer of love. Blind man's blood, blind man's blood, oh, blind man's blood, blind man's blood. Here in blind man's blood, blind man's, oh no, 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 blind man's blood, blind man's blood. Oh.
CITR's funding drive is the week of February 28th to March 7th. Our goal is to raise $40,000 in donations. This year is really special. We are celebrating 80 years of independent, unadulterated, nonprofit radio. And we couldn't have made it this far without the support of you, our listeners. So thank you. Unlike commercial radio, we depend on you to keep growing. We spend 1 week a year asking our listeners for donations. Just one. February 28th to March 7th, donate to keep CITR weird and pleasant on the ears. You can donate online at citr.ca/donate or in person and over the phone by calling 604 UBC UNIT.
And we're back. You're listening to Democracy Watch on CITR 101.9 FM. I'm Lyndon Wong, and our track was just an amazing rock banger.
Dad rock, really.
Yes,
Yeah.
by
Definitely dad rock.
Kennedy Stewart. So this has been a special edition of Democracy Watch in honor of CITR's annual Fund Drive.
And speaking of Fundrive,
Oh, did someone mention Fundrive?
Yeah,
Oh,
he mentioned Fundrive.
That's so weird. I don't think it's come up yet.
It's been a while. And speaking of that thing that we haven't
thing.
talked about before, Fundrive, I wanted to talk for a moment about all the cool stuff you can get. Your money, dear listeners, will not be for nothing. In return, here at CITR, we appreciate our listeners, and that's why if you donate, we're going to hook you all up. So we went over this before, but in case you missed it, in case you're just tuning in, for $30 a month, CITR and Discorder Fundrive patch, that's what you're going to be getting. You can do the $5 a month thing as well. For $50 or $10 a month, get the exclusive totes.
2 exclusive tote bags.
2 exclusive
Plus the
tote
patch.
bags. Plus the patch. So everything that you're going to get past each level of donation, you're going to get everything before. Just so you know. General rule. So 101.9 or $15 a month, you get the CITR socks.
They are nice. They have like ruby diamonds on them.
Ooh,
Damn.
And they're black.
Ruby
Wow.
diamond socks.
Ruby diamonds, is that a thing?
I guess it is.
It is
$175
now.
gets you the fishbowl tape, which we talked a little bit about before. Great compilation of music, correct?
Yeah,
and
compilation of local tunes.
yes, absolutely. That's also $20 a month. For $250 or $25 a month, get a framed cover of Discorder magazine.
Yeah,
which is
and that's
cool.
from an art show actually that happened at the Hatch Gallery in the UBC Nest. So big, like, nice versions of Discorder covers from all over the years. We've had some crazy people on the cover. There was like Miranda July on the cover. We've had, I think, Sonic Youth. I could be making that up. We had a phase where we were covering a lot more like hip hop and R&B. We try to do more of that now, but like just some really great artists of a variety of musical genres, and also like writers like Miranda July. Sorry to interrupt you, but
Diverse, just
No,
like CITR.
no.
diverse. See how
Thank you.
diverse we are.
Thank you for interrupting me. That
Oh,
they needed to
my
know
God,
that.
you're welcome.
That'll be and the after 250. That's $500 or $35 a month. You can host a show on CITR 101.9.
It's a dream come true.
FM. And if you're not satisfied with that, if you got those big bucks and it's just not enough for you, you can get for $1,000 because you're just full of cash, or $50 a month.
$50 a month. That's so reasonable.
Which is totally reasonable.
If you have like a
actually.
good job and stuff.
Yeah. Just
Yeah.
a little bit aside. Maybe don't eat meat for that month. Box set of all Pop Alliance compilations.
So that's some sweet vinyl.
Yeah.
With local tunes.
And on
put
top
out
of that,
in partnership with Mint Records. Go on.
yeah, sorry, I just wanted to make sure that you know your name will also be immortalized on our donor wall.
And you will become immortal.
Yes, in the sense that you will always be remembered. So
Yeah.
there you go. Okay. So once again, that's all the cool stuff you can get your hands on, as well as our heartfelt thank you and respect.
And also just the fact that you'll keep getting free local news in the form of this weekly radio show, Democracy Watch, and our sweet municipal politics podcast, Seeking Office, which is available on iTunes, Stitcher, wherever you get your podcasts. A lot of work goes into that. A lot of nights that are challenging to get through. It's fun, but it would be cool. Just consider becoming a monthly subscriber, like $5 a month. Some of you donate to podcasts, right? You might listen to Radio Lab, you might listen to Canada Land, whatever, and a lot of them ask you to become a monthly donor. It's just like paying for anything, right? And without that money, CITR really struggles to keep going. And honestly, this organization is so important. There's so many people, so many weirdos who come in here and hang out and become friends and get, support, emotional support through the community, and creative support through our radio trainings, our spoken word trainings, our music, our live shows, Discorder magazine. I learned how to write through Discorder magazine. It's just like it means so much, honestly. And on top of all those sweet prizes that Sam just mentioned, and on top of all the content we just create for you for free, what was the other thing you could get for $20? Don't
forget, by donating just $20,
it's really nothing.
You get a one-of-a-kind City of Vancouver horoscope. Find out which counselor you are according to the stars.
According to the stars.
That's right. So before we adjourn, we wanted to play a nice clip because I'm sure you guys have heard of this clip already. It's one of my favorites of the day and maybe life. I don't know. This is our dear official opposition leader of the provincial Liberals, Andrew Wilkinson, just describing sort of what it's like to rent. Just, what it's like to rent. Having a go at explaining that. So let's just hear what he has to say about what it's like to rent in the province. Here we go.
Government's approach to rentals. Let's protect the renters. I was a renter for 15 years. I lived in a dozen different rentals. It was challenging at times, but it was fun. It was part of growing up and getting better. We've all done it. It's kind of a wacky time of life, but it can be really enjoyable. Being a renter is a fact of life. It's a rite of passage.
Oh, so there you have it. That's a clip that exists. Thanks to Justin McElroy of the CBC for sharing that on Twitter. Not sure if he's the one who actually dug that up and posted it, but I do see it on one of his Twitter posts, and it's just great to see it IRL. Not just to read the quotes. I've seen that just like the text, but it's good to hear him say it out loud. Of course, from what I've heard too, the NDP is kind of running with this and saying look at Wilkinson, he doesn't understand renters, and let's be real. I mean, there's a lot you could critique with the NDP's dealing with renting in this province as well. So maybe that's a bit ironic, but Really? I mean, yeah. What do you guys think? Like, I mean, renting's a rite of passage, right? And it's kind of fun. It's kind of wacky.
Well,
What are some wacky things that have happened to you as a renter?
Nothing
I had
that-
rats for a while.
That's wow.
Whoa.
They lived in our
Wacky.
couch. We had to get rid of it.
That's a wacky, weird,
Ugh,
random
it's so
situation.
fun.
So fun.
It was fun. I could hear them in the walls.
So that must have been like a rite of passage for you.
It was
like,
you know how I
killing
describe
those
it?
rats, right?
I would describe it as a rite of passage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would describe it as that.
Yeah.
It's funny. I'm still in that rite of passage though. It's been happening for about 10 years.
Right. Well, I guess you need to step it up as
I
Andrew
think that
Wilkins
I'm
would
not
say.
working hard enough, and I think that I think it's probably my own failure. But yeah, I don't want to dig too deep into that.
Got dark so soon.
Sometimes I don't know what's a joke and what's not, but yeah.
With me, that's a common sentiment.
Yeah.
Life
Yeah,
is a joke.
I would
Life is
say
a joke.
that tenants who are dealing with slum landlords, with infestations of black mold affecting their health, people who are barely able to scrape by, single parents who are living out of one-bedroom apartments with their kids, I would say they would probably disagree and maybe feel a little disenfranchised by his comments.
Yeah.
At the same time, this is the attitude of many successful people. You go through hell and it makes you a better person, but sometimes that hell doesn't end for certain people.
Oh.
That's well said.
Thank you.
That's well said, Sam. Yeah. So that's your show for today. You've been listening to Democracy Watch on CITR 101.9 FM. As you might have noticed throughout the show, it's Fundrive, CITR's annual fundraising campaign. Please consider donating. It's really important. It keeps us going. And as we mentioned in the show, CITR is one of, if not the oldest independent media organization in the city. And it would be so sad if we couldn't keep making the content we do. So my name's Alex DeBoer.
I'm Lyndon Wong.
And I'm Samuel Jones.
Thank you so much for listening. Stay tuned for more excellent CITR programming.